Business credit cards at 0% interest for the first 6 to 18 plus months through the credit card stacking method, adding 3 to 5 cards at once, more or less, so you can maximize the amount of limits you have from different banks and associations. So you have better relationships, more power, much more flexibility. And so that way you can get more time and time again, increase limits, get other cards, rinse and repeat the process. I'll be going through all of that in a moment, getting into the share screen to go over the qualifications, requirements, everything you would like to know, how to get between 50K to 250K, what is the makeup of that profile, and so much more. Before I get into the share screen, though, if this is your first time watching me, welcome in. My name is Michael with Viral Funding Solutions. I'm a business funding expert, a business loan broker expert, as well as a pre-underwriter slash underwriter. And like yourself, I've received a lot of funding or am looking for funding if that's where you are now and you haven't received any, and you're looking for more in abundance so you can apply it for real estate, inventory, marketing and advertising, materials and supplies, so much more that you can use these 0% interest cards to maximize the amount that you need to take the cash out of these, liquidate that, and turn that into cash. So that way you can apply it appropriately, have more cash flow, cash on hand, bridge cash flow gaps. There are so many reasons for operations, mitigating risks, reorganization. And if you're wondering, what does the processing cycle or just processing in general look like, I will be covering that. So I'm going to get into the share screen in a moment. And just so you know, like yourself, I run my own business and I run multiple. I know what it's like when you're a complete startup and nobody can help you. You're not meeting the requirements or you're unsure about something and not just giving your information to anybody and everybody and people over promising and under delivering them, sending your information to a third party marketplace. And even if they don't do that, you have to be very cautious because you have to question, am I getting the very best? Protecting your credit, even just a soft pull in general. Be very careful who you give your information to and how they use that. Even if they use it ethically, are you going to the right source? Would I rather have somebody cold call me and I pick up? I wouldn't pick up to begin with and converse with them. A lot of the times you are going to be hearing transactional conversation. Hey, how much are you generating in revenue now? I saw that you're out in the market for funding. Is now a good time? I wouldn't want to work with somebody like that. With me, if you're questioning why, for one, I know what it's like to receive funding in multiple ways. And then also being somebody who you can trust and depend upon. I'm very loyal, responsible, accountable. I have integrity galore. My family will say I'm very humble. I'm a big introvert. I'm very analytical, more of the cerebral type. I'm not a wordsmith. I don't talk much. I'm a better writer. Math and systems are my thing. So, with that said, you'll get the very best within myself as a person and experience, the flexibility, the versatility, the morals, the ethics, the values, the vision, the mission as a person, characteristic traits, excuse me. I've worked on myself in personal development for a long time, and I come from an academic background, uh, done things in different job fields, places that I've been through and gone over and over again. And so I'll be able to help you and better equip you with what you need. So now let me get into the share screen here. And I'll try to leave this document down below in the description. And if it's not there, it's okay. There can be another form that you can go through or another point of entrance, and that will be this right here. So get the funding your business needs fast with the help from a real expert. I'll leave this for you down below in the description. Please select from the 2 buttons below to fill out the right funding questionnaire. Non-startup business with 3+ months in business, or you a startup with less than 3 months in business. Plus, you'll get a free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist and 900 plus exclusive free grant documentation or documents included. So about us, you can learn more. Our services, the key benefits of working with myself, and within here with Viral Funding Solutions, how it works. And to get started, there are a few results that I put here. I have many more, but just put a handful of them there. And just a little bit more details about myself if you'd like to learn about. And at viralfundingsolutions.com, you can learn more. And here I have some tabs open. We'll go over the Chase cards, Bank of America, American Express. Obviously, there are many others, and some of which you have to be careful about. Like for one, Citi. If you go to Citi, they're usually going to be reporting to your personal credit. If not on 1 to 2, all 3. not on one, then you'll see all three. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Here is a document again. If this is not down below in the description, it's fine. I can share it with you over time and it can be more customized and personalized to you and your needs. If so, just understand that. And by filling out the questionnaire form, that'll be very helpful. So again, if you select one of these two, I'll be able to better understand by pre-underwriting. It's not an application sequence. For me to understand, I've been doing this for many years and to see if credit, cash flow, collateral, liquidity, equity, and those can be infused, which one would be your best? Is there multiple? Would be a long-term strategic partnership and roadmap approach? I'll be able to put together a comprehensive email, a very personalized and customized email with the PDF included, showing you your best funding option and options, and a little bit about what you're going to be seeing right here is included. And if it's more customized and things can get added to, you'll also see that in here with other options. And I'll tell you what page to go through, what page to look at. If there's a link, submit it so it can be in our backend for review and processing. Or if I ask for things up front, what to expect there, and then a conclusion. So it's pretty cool and stuff you wouldn't see just all shared with you publicly. And a lot of the things here we're going to find out too is not always shared publicly either. So personal slash business slash startup loan, creative credit based option. So this is a great way if you're trying to add multiple business credit cards. And if you want to combine that with like a personal term slash installment loan between 1 to 5 years, sometimes more than that, and a personal line of credit. In some cases, that doesn't always happen. It's harder in this market to get a personal line of credit. Even a business line of credit has become harder and the approvals are a lot less. So you have to understand if you're limited and you can barely get enough exposure from one location, is it enough to take it from there? And if it is, can you take that and get another option or wait another month? Are you going to be involving personal and business assets with your bank? Will they allow you to do it that way? You have to look at a lot of other options too and not just focus on one location and have more exposure so you have better availability over time. If one card you don't get enough of, you do get another one, and that one gives you more, or you get more of the same, or one or the other has more or less, then you have to think about how can you get more from a different relationship. If you need to complete a project, you need rehab funds, gap funding. It's not traditional gap funding, but a personal loan can replace that. 0% interest business credit cards. There's so much more you can do and take the cash out of these. It's super helpful. So there are some details here. I won't go through it all right there, but quick view of the service. If you're interested in getting unsecured, no collateral business funding, that consists of a combination of business credit cards, multiple personal credit cards, if possible, at 0%, or multiple consumer term loans slash they're known as installment loans, one after the next, or get one now, later on if you needed another one, there's that. And you want to get the maximum amount so you can power forward without the troubles. This is where you want to start with my partnership, and we'll learn more about that here. And so there's more details, timeline. It can take 3 to 5 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks sometimes, but that's normally the case when you're receiving business credit cards and at 0%, getting multiple cards, making sure you have everything aligned. And so by the time you receive all your cards slash accounts, if you require pay downs, it's a 45 to 60-day program. If that program is no longer available or if it's not here and it's going to be workable for you, I can find alternatives. So if you're looking at having too much of a balance on your credit card or credit cards, and those need to be paid down to be able to qualify. And we're looking at the personal side with a lot of this. So we're looking at your personal credit. I've done a lot of credit reports myself. The team has as well. And so looking at a lot of these, I understand the math and what amount of balances are remaining, what has been done to this one account, about this one. And I'm looking at different things over a time period if I have access to a lot more. But usually when you look at credit reports, I'm looking at and saying, okay, what account is this? How about the next one? And I'm reading per account and I'm breaking it down on my end to see, okay, this is the utilization or this is what needs to be paid down. This is also what I need to look at. If they have too much of a high utilization on this one account, mortgage account, auto loan, secured accounts, unsecured accounts. I'm looking at a lot of different things and I can't right now break it all down for you because that's not what I want to make this video about either. So credit profile of the ideal client that we're looking for. There was once in the past a 680 credit score would have been enough on all three consumer credit bureaus for credit card stacking. Because it's become more troublesome in the economy and things that have been changing, you're looking at also a lot in the banks with interest, net interest problems they're running into, so many other places that they need to look at in terms of securities. And so the behavior of how banks are acting has completely changed. and they're not giving out as much freely. Well, they never really did, but they're not giving that out as easily as once was. And for the type of client that they have, now they're looking for a whole different criteria with credit, higher credit, 680, 685, if not 700, 720 plus is better. So here now for credit card stacking, that has changed. So you see a 700 or higher personal credit scores, not business credit scores here, but on the personal side, if you have less, you'll be declined since the lenders are focused on credit card debt now more than ever. So that's a huge concern and why you're seeing these elevated scores. And you're also seeing saturation with a lot of credit and people who lose out because they don't have the right credit, or they do, but a 700 or an 800 score doesn't justify everything. I've seen people with 800 credit who don't get the highest approvals, who don't even get qualified, or only on one of the three credit bureaus, and they ask, "Can I still qualify?" And the other ones are like 600 or 500 or just below 700. It makes it hard. If you have something because of due to the high balance, you may still qualify, although it'll be hard and it'll likely be a rejection. And I can help you pay down that balance if you need like a hard money or a quick advance or something else that you need to do to take out and you have other projects, maybe it's a cash out refinance or a hard money real estate loan or something else you're trying to inject equity out of, and anything in liquidation. There are different ways to help you with this. And if this is not going to work for you right now, you can try to save it for later, do credit repair. And if you need help with credit repair, I'll leave more information down below with that advanced Metro 2 disputing processes and everything you're going to get, credit analysis, everything that you need help with is up to date there. So I'll link you to that down below. And you can use a credit partner. So if you don't have that credit score or you won't get it anytime soon, and there are like derogatory marks, you're looking at charge-offs, anything in the public records, collections that just don't look good, and it's just so recent, it'll be very hard. And you can use a credit partner. Look at getting somebody as a business partner, a family member, a friend, an associate of any kind who will be a participant and own at least 10%. I would say it's better to own more, but 10% at least to try to qualify for this. And they have better credit than you do, then you can bring somebody in so they can personally guarantee. And that's what you're doing with a lot of business credit cards. If you're asking, can I not personally guarantee? It's going to be very seldom. It's going to be very hard. There are some here and there, but the amount you have to have in accounts, assets, or other things they're looking at, there's too much of a liability. And in this market where there's a lot of already credit card debt, personal, you're looking at things on the business side, what's accumulating, it's become much, much harder to get approved for that. And I'll try to leave a video down below on different business credit cards that you can pick up as well. So you can see that here. So again, 700 credit, you can use a credit partner to help and assist you with that. They have better credit. It looks cleaner than yours. Maybe you get a CFO, you get somebody you bring in that you can trust, depend upon, somebody on your board, on your team. I've seen a lot of this and help people with those situations. So here it says if you have less, you'll be declined since the lenders, as I mentioned, what they will go through. If you have balances, you need to pay them off or get a cosigner, use somebody else's credit for them to apply. So cosigner, and a lot of this, I mean, have them go through with their own credit to get approved for. That's what I mean by it. That's what you see a lot, and that's how usually it is on this side is have somebody else with their credit go in and apply for the funding themselves to help you. If they don't have part ownership of the business, or even if they did, but let's say they didn't, they can only go after the personal term slash installment loan and loans. Okay. So if they don't own any part of the business, it usually comes down to the personal loan for that because we're judging it based on the personal side. And there is a business component to that, but it's more about the personal side. And if you have a business that's running, you can qualify for both the personal and business side, like do a combo. Then we can look at both and I'll cover what the documents are for just a bit of this on the business credit cards. Usually you see 0% and it's no doc. If it is documentation, it can be very seldomly. It could be articles of incorporation, certification information within the state, the EIN verification letter, and front and back photocopy of the valid driver's license or something like that. If there's anything else required, we would ask of that. And for the personal side, there could be a little bit more. Last year's W-2, something else, 2 years of personal and business tax returns, or three, about 6 months of business bank statements, stuff like that. So I'll cover it. So please stick with me. And if you had the business and everything there, but an entity is really what we want to fund. And that's the premise of all of this. So 6 to 8 years minimum credit history. And if you're looking for like 50K to 250K, one of the requirements that a lot of these banks look at is not only 700 plus credit, 720 plus is preferable, 751 really helps. And if you have 4+ years of credit age and history, sufficient history too, That'll be very helpful. So that's what banks look at too. If they're going to try to get you 50K, if it's not one card, it could be multiple, but a 4 year plus age of history. Here, 6 to 8 years minimum credit history would really be the focus. So even if it's less than that, we can try to look at it, or you can use somebody else's credit and piggyback off theirs. And you can use their credit to really help you out and maximize things. But too many piggyback accounts, or you can say with too many authorized users and not your own, and you're not bringing in authorized users or somebody else under you, it can make it difficult if you don't have a lot or enough of the individual accounts and have enough responsibility for that. So there's a time frame between detaching on that. Here, at least one 5,000 credit limit, but 10,000 credit limit is best. I always say if you're going to get 50K to 250K, ideally you want to have two revolving accounts, two credit cards with at least a 10,000 plus limit. That's what I would go for, at least two cards with at least 1 year of seasoned history. That's what I do in making on-time payments. Reoccurring payments are very helpful. It's just showing sustainability of a pattern over time. That's very helpful in a lot of this. And I always share with people that it's what you repeat that will really show. It's like, how's your pattern looking like now of spending? What will it look like? Future projections of cash flow, profitability. That is much more important than anything. Credit, age, and history, the makeup of that profile and the percentage is huge and helpful to look at when evaluating this, but also credit mix and the history of that credit mix does a lot. Having more closed accounts than open accounts, and it's recent, it doesn't really do a lot of good. Having more open accounts, the ratio of that to closed accounts, you want to have more on the open side. So here again, at least one card with at least 5,000 credit limit and a primary card. I mean, it's not just have a card, a store card or any other cards, flex cards, but have like a primary card and a banking card. There's community levels, regional levels, those can be helpful. But in terms of this, a lot of the top tier one banks, A banks, that's the ones that I would be referring to. And those are better to have because it shows more and that's has more authority that comes with it. So at least one 5,000 credit limit, but 10,000, and having two cards at 5,000 each for 10,000 plus is best to have. The higher the limits, obviously, if you have right now, the better. I look at averages, I look at individual accounts, and I don't just base it off the average total. I look at each individual account. I look at what's the highest limit, what's the lowest limit, what's the average of the two, what is the average of all, and there's more that I assess, not just that. There's other numbers in place, mathematically speaking, and then what's the lowest? What's the highest limit? Can we do 2 to 3 times that amount? How about the lowest limit? Will that drag back? There's a few things to look at. So 30% maximum credit utilization. If more, use a pay down loan slash advance and or another option that I can show you and share with you. If your business is generating revenue or in another format, that could be quite helpful and supplemental. Usually with the big tier banks, if you're trying to get 50K to 250K, anything 15% and under really is it. Nowadays, anything under 10%. 20% and under is very helpful. Not to say that if you're at 30%, you wouldn't get 50K, but it just depends on the makeup of the profile. And to really expect that with lower limits and you're trying to get multiple cards and to get 50K total, that's what you also have to look at too when you're looking at the amount of your credit utilization and if you're going to get less because your credit utilization or none of it. Sometimes at 40% could be workable, but it's much harder now because of the credit card debt going up. So really what is being looked at is 30%. If you're underneath 20%, great. 15%, even better. 10% and under, great. Usually that's an 800 level score you're at. But even if you're not there, that's fine. So 3 inquiries max in the past 12 months. That is what's being looked at. No more than 3 inquiries in the last 6 months usually is it. You go over that, it's much harder and usually can result in decline. And when you're doing credit card stacking, you're looking at each bureau. So if I go to, let's say, for example, Chase, and we're going to get one of the Chase Ink cards, which are super amazing, and I recommend this. There's a sequence to this that depends on your credit profile and mix. Which one do we start off with? If you already have a couple of the Chase cards, we can't start there. It's too soon, or you've already over exceeded that, you're overextended. Maybe you don't have the relationship, something happened, or we need to open up something here with Chase so we can give you the best and you get the best renegotiation power. And so you're not having to do this all yourself. Instead, you have somebody in your corner, myself and the team, that can very much help you in processing, putting the cards together, the approval of those cards, getting those dispersed, and then being able to pay the success fee, which I'll be covering over instead of messing up with everything and just trying to do it on your own and not sure which cards you should be picking from and outdated ones and which when we'll report to the right credit bureau, things change and you're not sure about it, and being able to take the cash out of these cards and using them how you need to. So one card that I recommend, or any place that I recommend going into, is the Chase Bank, which is one of them. And you see here, earn 100,000 bonus points just with the bonus preferred card. There are other ones, obviously, that if I click right here on the left-hand side, you see the Business Unlimited Ink. The Ink cards are amazing to get. Earn 750 bonus cash back after you spend 6,000 on purchases in the first 3 months after account opening. That's what you'll see commonly with the Chase Ink cards. And then you can you get rewards designed for your business with cashback rewards, unlimited 1.5% cashback on every business purchase with no limits to the amount you can earn. Other times you'll see places where they limit you. They might give you a little bit more cashback, but you're limited on selective categories and purchases, or until you meet an accepted amount, and then that can be upgraded if you've seen that, or if that were to happen. But explore benefits for your business, built-in protection for your business. So you see it all there, unlimited 1.5% cashback. So I recommend the Ink Business Unlimited. You have the Ink Business Premier, and then you also have the Ink Business Cash. This is another great one. So if I click right here into the apply now, obviously now this is showing you the apply page, which I wanted to do. And so this would be the process and what you would see as a page open up for the Chase online. And when you're trying to apply for these cards, I'm not going to spend too much time going over this, but you see a lot of projected revenue ranges, household income, with a lot of the 0%, and on the business side of the cards. Doesn't always have to be stated or this is the true revenue right now of the business, but what it would project to become and what's going on with a lot of that. But see, you see the details right here with personal info, and then you can go ahead and choose one of the authorizing officer title, owner, member, partner, president, first name, middle, last, suffix, date of birth, mother's maiden name, SSN, the address type, and then total gross annual income. This is what you earn or reasonably expect to earn in a year. If you're 21 or older and regularly use income from others to pay your bills, you can include that too. Alimony, child support. There's a bit more details there. Then you would enter business information. So you can go in here, EIN, business phone number, annual business revenue, or projected to, or what it's currently doing. Very helpful. Estimated monthly spend. Would you like to add any employee cards? You can say yes or no to that. And then if you want to go paperless, you can see that. And then for this, the purchase annual percentage rate, the APR, 0% fixed intro for the first 12 months that your account is open. And after that, it's 18.49% to 24.49% based on your credit worthiness and other factors that are considered. These APRs, they will vary in the market based on the prime rate. So there's a little bit more details to this. I won't spend too much time. And then down here, you can see more details on that as well. Let me backspace here, or let me exit. Go ahead and leave there. And then here, you see credit cards, explore personal and business credit cards. I always recommend having a personal credit card with at least a 10,000 limit, if not one, a couple of them, because that'll help you with better approvals on the business side. And so here you see again the Ink Business Credit Card, the cash card. So I'll click here. And this is a different point of view. 10% business relationship bonus, earn 5% cash back, earn 2% cash back. So you're seeing a little bit more there on this side with the business cash card. So it just depends on how you're going to be spending, what you need, what rewards do you need, what you need to redeem, travel and purchase, coverage, stay on top of your business. There's just quite a bit, but that's one side of it. I have another tab open here for now American Express. This is a great one. Refresh, and it has timed out. You have these cards here, the American Express Business Plus card, and you get quite a bit. So I won't be spending too much time on this. This is just another point of reference. And then you also have like the Business Advantage and Limited Cash Rewards credit card from Bank of America. There's a sequence to this. So if we did Chase Ink card, do we then go to Bank of America and then we can do it American Express? I try to have the American Express towards the bottom because they are usually not inquiry sensitive. But if we could have a chance to add that sooner rather than later, then we can and try to maximize that exposure, especially if you have something already open on the personal side and you've had an extensive amount of history with that card. We can try to go to that one first in the sequence with Chase. We can try to add that on top of American Express, then Business, Bank of America, and then like GM Marcus or anything else included. So back to this. You see this over here already. We went into the inquiries. Past 12 months, ideally no more than 3 inquiries in the last 6 months. 2 new accounts max in the past 12 months. Usually no more than 2, no more than 3 opened accounts, and unsecured accounts open in the last 6 months, ideally, is what we're looking for. And a lot of the times it doesn't include security inquiries like auto loans and mortgages. 2 new accounts, again, max in the past 12 months, just so you understand. And usually no more than the last, past the 6 months. That's what we're kind of looking for, no more than 2 to 3, but ideally 2, especially with credit card debt being heavy right now, where things have been changing and there's not a lot of wiggle room. So to get this right, make sure you work on it. And if you need credit repair, again, down below the description. No bankruptcies, derogatories, or late payments. You're looking at collections, public records. What are you going through now? What happened in the past year? What hasn't been removed? Did this need to get removed? This disclosed appropriately with the late payments. Late payments usually when it comes to business credit cards and 0% in credit card stacking, no late payment in the last 2 years. If you have something in the last 2 years, usually it's a disqualification. And with the top tier banks, and you're looking at 50K to 250K plus, no more than 2 late payments in the last 7 years. And so that's a requirement a lot of the times with the age history of 4+ years and a few other things on credit, derogatory, no collections, and more time. So that's just some of it. Here, DTI, debt to income, below 40% for term loans only, that applies to. But if you can have that just in anything in general, that is super helpful. But usually, again, that is DTI below 40% for term loans. Sometimes you'll see less than 30% being ideal. There's like a target where we try to go through and say, under 30% is usually ideal, and anything just above that leaves room for improvement. Can we just still try? Yes, but there could be a range of an approval, but it might not be maximized. So there's a few things there. And just understand in the processing, I'm doing a lot of this stuff too on the back end, also with the team, things that I understand and know, I'm following sequences. So I'm not just the one here going through on the front end. I'm doing a lot of behind the scenes back end work. Of course, it's all ethical. So when I'm not here and making this video, putting this video for you and giving you the details and showing you what would work and what wouldn't work, I'm doing things for clients on the back end and following up and doing things, looking at the process and looking at some numbers, doing quite a bit, just so you know. So I do have my hands in a lot of this as a funding expert. So 50,000 a year for term loans only. Sometimes you would see 35,000 minimum if we go to a different location, if so, but usually 50,000 a year for term loans is really the requirement. Annual gross adjusted gross income. That's what we're looking at yearly, not the net, but the gross ideally is it. For personal credit, qualify for up to 200,000, build personal credit strength, no business required stated income, no income verification, no collateral use credit for any purpose, no restrictions, requirements for the personal credit, 700 plus personal credit, like I mentioned, and on all three is usually it. I have an alternative where if you only have a 680 or sometimes 670 due to high balances, 700 plus is preferred, and it's only on Experian, but it's harder now just to make it work off of Experian. I had that in the past. Sometimes it works if the other scores and the weighted scores in Experian can weigh more than the others. There is a tri-merge. You're looking at each individual Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. Then there's a case to be made. But usually nowadays, 680 just for a personal loan on the other side on all three consumer credit bureaus, if not 700 plus. So it's become a lot harder. And I don't see this easing up because of the interest rates and a lot of the capita. And there's so much more that's happening. And you're seeing a lot of private lending options emerging and better ways and formidable in ways that you can temporarily take funding and even help you longer term. I have FDIC banks online. I have things with the SBA, equipment loans, real estate. I do just about everything you can think of, already everything, honestly. And so again, the questionnaire form will be down below, and I can share a form of this too within the questionnaire in the PDF. And if it's more customized to you, I can put it there, or if in a different format and you see more things that are up to date as well. Documentation for personal credit, 3-bureau soft pull credit report. That is what's being looked at. For the term loan service, qualify for up to 300,000, up to 200,000. You can see as well 150,000. No business required. Unsecured rates as low as 5.49%. But that makes it a lot harder now because of the prime rate. So you can ideally see it at like 10, 11, 12% plus in a lot of this. So times change, just so you know this, 12, 13, 10 to 18%, sometimes even higher, 30% I've seen. Not regularly is it, but it just depends on the credit, just depends on the credit worthiness. But usually you're going to see up there like 12.5, 13%, 11%. You're seeing a lot of cash out refinances being that more or less. So just understand that 5.49 to 14.99% with something that could be even slightly higher and things like that as the market does change. But 5.49%, don't always expect that to be the case. But with a lot of the personal side is you get monthly repayments. So that is super helpful instead of having a weekly, bi-weekly, or even a daily, unless that's what's affordable and that's what you can only qualify for. If that makes sense, you're like, my depositing is right, so I'm going to go to one of these alternative options. Why should I get a personal loan when I can try to get a bank loan or a bank line of credit on top of that, and or a combination of it? Or you're looking at an SBA if qualified, but that requires the credit, that requires the business credit score. If you're a startup, the equity injection and liquidity, 30%, like there's so much more you have to look at it, different variables, the amount of documentation on those, so much more. So no upfront fees here, flexible terms, monthly payments, 5 to 7 year payback length, no prepayment penalties, full liquidity immediately, funding in 7 to 15 days. So again, that time period between 1 to 2 weeks. Other times you see 3 to 5 weeks. It just depends on the scenario. But 7 to 15 days, you see it with quite a bit of this. Requirements for the term loan service: 700 plus credit again on all three consumer credit bureaus, 50,000 plus or more taxable income, 2 years personal tax returns showing documentation for the term loan service. And one thing here, I look at a lot of this. I look at a lot of cash flow, profitability. I look at a lot on the personal business side. I look at just about everything. That's my bread and butter, is the reviewing of bank statements, tax returns, P&Ls, balance sheets, helping reorganize, shift here, mitigate expenses, better projections, better efforts on the business side to understand it better, the math, the numbers. Documentation for the term loan service through Bureau Software Credit Report, as mentioned, last 2+ years of filed personal tax return. So filed being the key word there. I have those who haven't filed SO or haven't doing it correctly. Things need to be changed. Maybe you do need to get a better accountant on the business side that can help you, save you a lot more, and it'll be better structured over time. So that's also something to consider. For the business credit service, qualify for up to 150,000, if not more or less. 0% interest for the first 6 to 12 months. Ideally, that's kind of the range you see. You get past 12 months, the market kind of shifts. So getting that 15-month, 18-month like it could have been in the past could be a lot harder, but you can build that. And with the credit cards you have, if it's not the ones from that bank, it could be from a different location. Super helpful. No minimum length of time in business. So pre-revenue, startup phase, non-startup, revenue being generated, or a different type of revenue, not properly cash flow, not properly structured of the business, not the right type of depositing frequency. You see a lot of this where people get declined time and time again, and I see it all of the time on the business loan, the merchant cash advances, the hybrid cash advances, all of this stuff. Instead, you have something better suited where if you were to just to work on your credit, and the foundation is credit, but before the foundation is the character. Character meaning the loyalty, the trustworthiness, the ethics, the vision, the mission of a person, working on one's self. And that's something I've done for a while, being an academic who studied sociology, played Division I soccer. Then I went into chemical engineering, my math and system brain. That's just how I operate. After a while, I had to make a big decision. I wanted to start a business. So I went to the business side, got my degree there. I worked in construction, manufacturing. I was in warehousing. I was in Rampage, and a lot of this in my younger 20s. My financial logistics position I was in goes down under. 50 plus people were leave. Unfortunately, I'm one of them. Goes back on unemployment benefits and food stamp cards for some time. And I was building. a business at the time as I had the luxury to be at home. And I learned this. Started saving more, getting more cash back, rewards, lifestyle benefits, discounts, started building out my businesses, digital marketing agency, lead generation business, health affiliate marketing business, to then helping people with CRMs, tools, courses, to then in the finance space, and in so many levels of this as an expert. Stated income, no income verification. Credible commercial lenders reports to business credit, does not report to personal credit. And there's a rinse and repeat process for anything hard inquiry related, and to repeat it again. Requirements for the business credit service: business entity, S Corp, C Corp, LLC, partnership. You'll see sole proprietors. You'll see quite a bit of an extension, but that's really what we're looking for in an LLC, C Corp, S Corp partnership. Registered and in good standing with the state of registration. That's another word of saying articles of incorporation, certification of formation within the state, proving, verifying that you have this and you are in good standing. So there are different ways, different documents that can be collected. I'm not going to go into all that right now. I have it on my mind, but if it can be communicated with you in time, I can. in terms of what could be supplied. But that's what you're seeing, the state of registration, 700 plus personal credit scores on all three consumer credit bureaus for the credit card stacking, the documentation for the business credit service, a 3 bureau soft pull credit report. One thing too that's really cool is I'll leave you information down below on getting started with the 0% interest side. But ideally, this will be like one of the first links. And this is the page again that you'll come to. And once you fill this out, if I've changed it, that's one thing. But right now I have it as where if you fill this out on the thank you page, you will get started on a quiz questionnaire that I put together. That if you, once you answer those, it'll bring you to an eligibility or an ineligibility results page. Based upon what you've answered, if you're eligible, you can continue forward. It'll take you to a page. You can watch a video review as well. If that, with the button to click to get started, so this can land in our backend for review. It's very streamlined, hassle-free for you, very energy and time efficient. And I've learned this as a business owner and entrepreneur that leveraging your energy and time is everything. And so I've put that together for you, low resistance, low friction, super helpful that you can get started after filling this out. And if I've changed things, I've changed things. But here, personal filters for business funding, credit card stacking, personal credit score again on all three personal credit bureaus. I can't emphasize that enough. Of 700 plus credit score, no more than 3 bank inquiries per bureau in the last 12 months. Ideally, no more than 6. If you start getting over 6, it could get a little bit trickier and a disqualification, especially if the credit mix and everything else isn't there, or it could be a lesser of an approval. You'll see as well. Does not include secured inquiries like auto loans and mortgages for a majority of the time, I'll say. No more than 2 unsecured accounts opened in the past 12 months does not include secured inquiries like auto loans and mortgages, usually the case. Under 30% utilization on each revolving account and accounts, no bankruptcies at all showing on your credit file. At all, showing at all. 3 years, 4 or 5 years, but it's aged, but I still see it. We see it. It's all there. It's pulled up on the records. This was shown this way. It hasn't reported yet or wasn't reported accurately. There's other things that you need to look at. No open unpaid collections or judgments. No late payments in 2 years. No charged off accounts. Usually is it. Sometimes in a year, maybe helpful, but it's still really hard to do that. Even if it's a slight payment, you just missed it by a day or two. A $5 payment is as big as a 300 plus payment. It's the gravity of the situation is huge, even if it's just a low payment. Caesar major bank card trade line limit of 5,000 plus, like I mentioned earlier, or have 2 cards with at least 5K on them each. Must have a minimum of 2 open revolving accounts with at least 2 years of history or more. That's ideal. 1 year plus can be helpful, but here it can't have 1 open revolving account. There's an age mortgage with at least 2 years of history or more because those weigh a lot in credit. Or 1 open revolving account with an age entity of over 2 years can be very helpful. If scores are less than 700 only due to high balances on revolving accounts, it's a lot harder now than in the past, but you want to have a 700 plus credit score. That's what you want to come in with. And here we're focused on credit cards, not lines of credit, business lines of credit. If you want that, fill out the questionnaire form. And those are harder to get, just so you know. Business lines of credit are not easy to come by in this market. FinTech, FDIC bank, insured line of credits. I've helped people get those that can qualify, but you're looking at the amount of revenue over 250K, sometimes over 400 to 500,000 plus, closer to $1 million plus, being a preferred client, the location. There's so much. The credit score 700, if not 720 plus, 680, sometimes 660. But with the right business credit score and scores, the mix, Paydex, FICO, SPSS, business liquid credit. Sometimes we can combine this with like an advance or do a combination of some other sort. But business lines of credit, true business lines of credit, are harder. And right now, you have to be careful because a lot of people out there are duping people. They're bringing them in, promising them to get them a line of credit, or after they take this advance in about a month, they'll assign to them a line of. You have to be careful on what people are sharing with you, protecting your credit, even if it's just a soft pull. Do not just give everybody your information. Have a higher standard. So here again, the season major bank card. But for the personal funding, again, 700 plus is really it. 680 plus, I'll probably do an alternative if you have all three, and just on the personal side, but it's harder to get business credit cards at 0%. Although I'm not saying that you have to have a 700 credit score ideal, just always to get a business credit card. And even at 0%, you'll see 660, 680, sometimes 650. But to do it on this side, if you're going to have 680 and only get a personal loan, and we added a business credit card, whether it was 0% or not, or only one card, that's a significant difference instead of getting more cards at once and be able to liquidate or take the cash out of these cards. So no more than 3 bank inquiries per bureau. So similar to what we saw earlier. So I'm going to speed through this a little bit, but no late payments in 1 year, usually for a personal loan side. But usually you don't want to have any late payments in the last 2 years or a year or so. And we can look at things. No charged off accounts. But again, the late payments, be very careful of that. Anything recent. is very hard to overlook. Seasoned major bank card trade line limit of 3,000 plus limit, must have a minimum of one open revolving account with at least 2 years of history or more. Sometimes this varies and changes, but 5,000 is really it. Have a 5,000 card at a lowest limit, even if you have one for 1 year, is very helpful. If 2 years plus, the better. If scores are less than that, we may still be able to look at it, but it's going to be a pay down and you're likely not going to qualify. And it'll be like a restriction where you qualify only after these conditions are met. But have the score before you go into all of this. So you see this here, option one, with the services, and some of these services may change over time, but unsecured business funding, stated income, or unsecured funding, non-collateralized, typical results, 20 to 200K, 20 to 150K. This will require, if you're trying to get more applicants, you can have a credit partner apply, such as spouse or business partner, double or even triple the amount you can get. This will require an additional EIN or EINs. Type of funding, we went over that, revolving lines of credit through business credit cards. Interest rates, 0% introductory. You can see 14.99 to 24.99% plus. Now, the interest rates have been accumulating where it's even become more on business credit cards and personal credit cards. But still, a lot of people are using their credit card. They're swiping even more now for having a delay of payments or being able to make these payments in different disbursements. So stated dates, the closing dates, due dates, you're starting to see a lot of credit card debt accumulation instead of just relying on cash or only a few selective purchases, lower limits, people making higher balance payments at once that have to be careful, meaning that if they couldn't make it ahead of time or they couldn't make it in little disbursements because they didn't have the money yet, that's also a big concern. It can become a huge liability and a huge amount. You can see defaults. You're going to see a lot of different things you have to be careful for. And was this dismissed, discharged, released? You have to look at a lot. But you see that timing can take 3 to 5 weeks, 7 to 15 days, plus or minus, depending on the situation. Pre-qualifying, I already give you some of those details, but a very 700 plus is usually it though that we're looking at. Success fee. So this is the part that you're probably wondering, like, what's the cost? So you have to understand there's an ROI on all parties, and the amount of energy and time in the processing cycles that it takes to go through this, to assemble, to go through on our side, to review, to make sure you're going through this accurately and getting processed. There is a bit of time between that. So just keep that in mind. And also you're getting maximum amount. So if you go to your bank on your own, or if you try to do something on your own and it doesn't work, or you're not going to get as much, 10x, 50x the amount, 4x, 2x the amount, that's a significant difference for somebody who's trying to put an extra amount for a down payment, for somebody who's trying to get more credit card usage, or in about 3 months, they won't have to up their limits, or they won't have to look at getting another card, or they're going to have extra that they can accumulate for cash flow gaps. They're looking at it as an investment. They have cash on hand. They're looking at it as an inventory, being able to mitigate expenses, being able to purchase more over time, more purchasing power or larger ROIs and margins, net margins. There's so much here that goes, every dollar in every part of the credit stretches is very important to have. So usually you'll see this. There are no upfront nor any recurring fees. Once the credit lines have been established, the personal loan and all that, a one-time success fee is due. This is a percentage of the total credit lines approved personal loan up to the maximum flat fee and can be conventionally paid with the new cards. So usually you'll see 15% of a success fee out there. If you've heard of 10%, 9.9%, that comes and goes from time to time. Are you getting the best that you can, the best exposure to this? And with everything only going up higher, you have to also question, if you're getting it a lot lower, what kind of service are you getting? Are they able to maximize your exposure, get the most capabilities, the best timing on this? So 15% is very reasonable. Other ones out there, you're going to get like 20, 25%. You have to be careful on those. So 15%, very reasonable. Sometimes on another one, you might have seen like drop down to 12% on the personal side. And I have a different one, but it's kind of hard to do that if you haven't shown proof of like done this or not done this exactly, but you have a major card or a couple major cards and you have a thinner profile. You have to look at a lot of things if you're already over leveraged. So 15% success fee, super helpful and very affordable when you look at it and what gets taken out. And from the total amount, very helpful. You always usually have a good amount and a chunk of the amount you need, and you had extra. Other times you might have to stretch every dollar, and I can understand that. But usually for most people, that's not even a worry. The success fee is the least of your worries. That should be like nothing when it comes to a lot of this. And again, it is very helpful for this that you will see. And a lot of that doesn't go to me. It goes in dispersed. I can get like less than that, or of the total of the 15%, 30%, or more or less. So you'll see different variances in this, but super helpful in the amount. So when you're getting max funding as opposed to the alternative, which you're doing it on your own, when you get the most amount, can you walk into a bank and do this? Do you have the right relationships? You need to open up a better relationship. Are you going to the right relationships? Pulling from the right bureaus when you have to rinse and repeat, but you can't go to this next one. One pulls from TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. Ink cards, you're going to see it from Experian, usually on the business side, sometimes TransUnion of a double pull or just TransUnion. Normally, Experian, Bank of America can be Experian and TransUnion double pull, sometimes just TransUnion. American Express, Experian, usually see Experian and TransUnion, but you can see that seldomly with also Experian too, or one or the other. But that's also something to keep in mind. There are other banks out there that you have to look at. First National Bank, there's a lot. If you're looking at Equifax, TransUnion, where are they pulling from? There's so much of this that you have to understand. The benefit of exceeding your repayment, excuse me, that you also have to understand is how you will use your funds to potentially double, triple, quadruple your revenue and perhaps save more and keep your business afloat, which keeps your repayments low over time compared to other services. And this is all normal and expected. And the fact that you can pay the success fee with the amount that you get approved for is very, very helpful. So I cover that here in detail. Plus, other services out there can charge you 20%. They might have you buy into a course at 2,500 and they try to give you everything, but still you won't use it or it's not as effective to you and you don't have the time as a business owner to do it and you don't want to mess things up. Even if you're shown a specific way, you don't want to be that person who has to rely on something that you were having to look at all yourself. Instead, you have somebody who can save you energy and time on your behalf where you're going and you're continuously working. I don't have to go apply for all of these applications or one at a time or understand how to disperse those. Instead, you're having myself and the team take care of this for you on your behalf so you can focus on what matters most, running the operations, getting more free cash flow, setting up the business plan for when you have the funds ahead of time already before you've applied. You should normally have that. And there's so many more other places to reorganize that going into the next year, fiscal year. You're looking at quarterly. There's so much accounting you need to fix up. Financial literacy, there's so many other areas that you can focus on getting more clientele, lower cost per leads, customer acquisition cost, cost per customer, cost per click, the return on ad spend in different places. You're going to grow your revenue even more of the lifetime gross profit value of a customer. There's so much you need to look at in your business that you shouldn't have to worry about doing all of this on your own. Or if you decided to and you wanted to use this in combination, well, here's the service that I can help you with it done for you here on this side instead of doing it for yourself. So existing balance limit, and then one other things I wanted to kind of go over is other places you might see a consultation fee on top of another fee, flat fee, and then it turns out to be so much more that you don't even need to get involved with. In other places, they don't always have the best strength and history, so you have to be careful in how they're communicating it with you. Very transactional, 9 to 5. Are they really business oriented, entrepreneurial oriented? Like you'll get somebody and yours truly. You have to question that and that know, like, and trust, and not just giving your information to anybody and everybody and people just being transactional with you. I don't accept that. Where I'm at now, and you shouldn't have that no matter where you're at, but have a higher standard. I'm not saying you have to be like me because I've worked on things over time, but to get to that level of having an above average standard is continuously having the habits and routines to work towards your business and in your own life. And you'll start to see a lot of this, even if you're not the most personable person like I am. I'm an introvert again, so it makes it harder to. Relatable I am in many ways, but just so you know, have your best interest at heart. So there it is, existing balance and limit. So no more than 45% of your maximum limits, although no more than 30%, no more than 35%. A lot of the time you see this being the case. Soft credit pull. There could be a credit monitoring website that you can go to and share the report with myself and or the team and can run a credit without a hard inquiry. But a lot of the times you'll see if you have 700 plus credit or something like that or something below, we'll ask of you to submit this in a specific way or I can ask for it up front. But a lot of this, if you submit it through the link that I'll be showing you, you can go ahead and get started from there. Super helpful. The program filters are credit score. 700 is ideally it though. Credit history, we kind of went over this a little bit more. No bankruptcies, less than 5 years old, ideally it, and not on your credit report. So exception, can look at reports with bank score if it's above 700 and the bankruptcy has been discharged for over 5 years without any negatives since. And then we'll need to know what banks were included in the bankruptcy, but usually no bankruptcies at all on your credit profile is really what we want to look at. No open unpaid collections or liens. Any unsatisfied tax liens, judgments, or collections must be cleared prior to approval. Unsatisfied basically means unsettled or unnegotiated. Exception, open medical collections are sometimes acceptable if other variables are strong. It's on a case-by-case basis. No late payments within the past 12 months, ideally. With the business side, no more than within the last 2 years. You're going to see a lot of it. No more than 4 inquiries within the past 12 months, ideally no more than 3 in the last 12 months. But like I said earlier, past 6 months can make it a lot harder, better, getting better approvals and so much more. So you're seeing that. No charge-offs. When the credit score is below, kind of went over that. It makes it a lot harder right now in this market to get approved for. Here's an example funding. If you're able to say yes to all of these, then potentially a business plus personal combo of 140 to 180K, business credit only 70K to 90K. So it drops when you can't get both of them. Sometimes one or the other is more. So, but if you cannot say yes to one or more of the above questions, then business plus personal combo is 80K to 120K, business credit only 50K to 70K. So you can see a 25 to 50% plus dip in the amount of an approval from one, not just business and personal, but from one. And so ideally, have a LLC or an EIN more than 2 years old is what we're looking at. Where people get into complications is they can have all the credit in abundance, and it might not be 2 years. So it does have some limit, especially if you're a startup and you haven't had an EIN, or you're just forming one or you're adding one or getting it. Simple. But your corporation LLC as well, that's what we also look at. And there's problems when people go through this and they have multiple addresses listed in different locations. It just doesn't add up. So when we go do an approval or we go do an application, it doesn't line up with what's on everything else. So you have to make sure that's perfectly done. The certification, the SOS, uh, there's so much more that we need to understand. And you have to make sure it is all looking accurate. And having a business address is better than having a personal address. If you have a personal address, be that, but business address is really it. And to get better approvals, having the entity structured correctly, the business address, the type of entity, of course. There's a little bit more details. Having the business phone number, website is very helpful, quite a bit more. So how it works from start to finish. So it's kind of a little bit more in the processing. So pre-qualification stage, I can send you results via email, and or if it's already in another way communicated with you. There's team members, somebody who contacts you as well that knows, and I also know things on the back end that are going on as I'm following along, doing quite a bit of work too, and having to service other clients and helping them. So just understand that I'm there also on the back end. But you can get these results, and I'll show you if you're in a range of 50K to 100K with personal loans and business credit cards, 60 to 80K or whatever it is. Maybe there's an interest rate or pre-qualification interest rate, if that can be communicated. If not, we'll have to continue forward. So there is that. Once you accept it, if you wanted to move forward with it, collect the documentation that if you didn't submit it already, because there's a place where you can go ahead and submit this stuff through the online-based portal upload, what you needed to upload, make sure the credit reports, everything is there, taken care of, so that can be reviewed. And then the next step, if qualified or if missing something, we can then communicate the process with you. So we'll go through this. Things can change here, as you see. I can be subject to change things over here. And there could be an account manager that you're connected with, that I connect you with, that you can see all of this. And if it isn't through ClickSign, there's another form, being able to accept things, a contract, and then move to the next stage, just so you understand that we're helping you, that the company that you're going through is helping you, and making sure you're doing this accurately and being somebody who's reliable and trustworthy and compliant in doing this. Welcoming onboarding call if possible. If you get a voicemail, if you get a call from myself and or somebody else, can be that doing that. If it's not me, usually it can be somebody else. To go over things, and if it's bank cards later on that are approved for, if you decided to approve them, if that was shown to you, then the team can begin applying and negotiating with the banks on your behalf. You receive your cards in the mail. You can pay the success fee with the cards. When you're asked for supporting documents, like I said earlier, for like the business credit cards, EIN verification letter from the IRS, articles of organization, certification of formation within the state, and picture of your driver's license. And so that's kind of the process. If you, before that, anything supplied, there's a secure online form, an agreement, a link for you to sign, to go through a secure online form. You'll see a lot of that with a lot of these parts of the process to make sure you understand and adhere by who's helping you and doing this correctly. So organization of all that, super standard in how it works, very precise and streamlined process to help you ensure you get the very best. Many people go through a setup like this, and again, it's normal in how it works. I hope that helps. Once you have your cards, so the 0% interest cards usually can be liquidated into cash, can depend on the cards and how much, etc., to fund the business. And here's how. We could have a liquidator, or if there's another format, there are different ways of doing this too. But it could be more expensive, like a 5.5 or a 5% fee in total. Merchant cash advances are usually more or less, so that's a better alternative for a liquidator to help you, and you have that relationship and that seasoned processor. But they'd invoice you, they'd wire, Zelle you, etc., the funds. So the best cost-effective way right now, and this can be variable and subject to change, but it could be through Plastique or Melio at 2.9% or so. But Plastique is great to start with. With them, liquidation can be as much as 100% at times, and with the liquidator, it's up to 80%. And usually at 80%, it's when you have a seasoned card past 30 days and more. There's also one up to 65% with a new cards you can do with in the first 30 days, and then like an additional 50% or more after that, if possible. That doesn't arrive, or if that's not there, no longer accessible, or it isn't for you, well, there's that as well. With other places, you need to be careful because you might hear somebody who wanted a flat fee on top of a percentage. There's also the cash advance, but those can be more expensive. There is that option if you needed it. I hope that helps. Additional notes. I won't go through all of this right now, but liquidation, there's extra material, provided program details, business credit card funding. There's more details to this. This will just kind of go more into detail. And if you don't see it down below, over time, I can share it with you in the questionnaire form that you fill out in more details. How to get started, where you can go in here and get submitted. There's a link there to start and what would be sent. And then you can submit everything there once you get to that page. Go through the pre-qualification, enter the simple details, come to the tabs, or what you then enter there. You'll go to the next tab or so, and then upload what you need to upload and have everything done correctly. So credit partner, if you needed to get a credit partner to assist you, make sure you do that. And there's some of the details there. Business rollover, if that's available. If not through here, I'll go through another location and show you that. It's usually not through one of them. So in some places, so there's another place we can go through to use an IRA and or 401k account to use to roll over for working capital, then we can do that. Usually that's what you see with a lot of members in an organization getting started on a business, but it doesn't have to be exactly that. Credit restoration and high debt elimination. I kind of went over credit repair, debt elimination by paying off high balances, and that's the only reason that you could qualify. Then I can look at a different alternative. Some reasons for declines. Just wanted to show you this. Insufficient revolving credit history, only one open low limit, and new accounts. So that can also hurt. So having 1 year plus can be helpful, but open low limit, it's low being the key word, and it's a new account for this reason. It could be more than one open new low limit and new account too, depending on the client. Insufficient revolving credit history. All accounts are either low limits, new accounts, or charge cards, which charge cards we shouldn't be going by that. Too much recent activity, closed account with a balance. There are much more details here, previous lates. I'm not going to go through all of it, but again, the link will be there. Personal term loans for business. I went over this more or less already, so I'm going to kind of go over this really quickly, and we're going to close up here. But everything you see there, the process, 7 to 15 days, 3 to 5 weeks, more or less. No upfront stuff, like I said earlier, the same success fee you're going to see there. Now, when you go through this process, it's similar to what I said before. If it's not through this agreement form, it could be through another one. And what you'll do at this stage, the documents that are going to be asked for, if not already submitted, and this can take a little bit more documentation. So if you really wanted to get more funding and you qualified for this, just understand this processing part doesn't take forever, but the collection, the stage of collection to the state of then us processing, myself looking at this processing and with the team on the back end, that's where most people hold up on it, is can you submit the documents on time? And then can you let us do what we need to do? And then I'll get back to you. So along with the completed contract signed and dated, if you've already done that, likely is it. And the following documents will then be needed: articles of incorporation, organization, IRS, EIN letter, SS4 or 447C, color copy front and back of your driver's license. No glare, must be able to see all four edges and corners. Color copy front and back of your social security card. No glare, must be able to see all four edges and corners. So the SSN there, very helpful. Home utility bill in your name dated within the last 30 days. So super helpful. I look at the time periods on this. Voided check to your personal business account, or your personal bank account, excuse me. Verification for the account of the personal loans will be deposited into, where that personal loan will be going into. That's why it's very important that we understand that you are the account holder. Verifying this. Last year's W-2, super important. 1 month's most recent pay stubs. If only paid once a month, please provide 2. So if you don't even have certain like business tax returns, that wouldn't be supplemented. But if you have a business that's running as well many years, you can see 2 to 3 years of personal and business tax returns being asked for, 2 years business tax returns, so forth. So you'll see this being asked for as well. Make sure it's filed correctly. This is all super standard and it's all part of the process. How to get started again, what can be submitted there. So you can go through this process. Personal fast track funding may not be available, so we're going to kind of go over that. If we need to do better availability of funding, where we can maximize your um, personal side to get you more exposure to get business credit ready, maybe I can work with you on the side or a different format. So again, I'm just kind of detailing what I've already gone through here. And I think we're going to finish up here in a second. Yes, wanted to make sure I had all this. Okay, so that'll cover everything that I wanted to in this video. Of course, there are different alternatives to if you wanted to get like a personal loan at 680 on all three consumer credit bureaus, but only that. Sometimes we add a business credit card. If it's 0%, is it that much? Probably can't get more than one. But to really go after the credit card stacking and even get a combination of a personal term installment loans, sometimes a personal line of credit, but those are harder to get, then go through this process. And again, there's different cards you can go for. There's the Chase, Inc. cards, and there are many more. Let me go back into some of these tabs. You have this page again to refresh because it's timed out. But there's the Blue Business Plus. There's the most popular cards, but not doing it all on your own, so you're not sure about what you're doing. So there are many more. The Blue Card cards out there. Uh, there's the Bank of America, but doing it appropriately. So within your credit profile and mix, making sure that these cards are added and stacked correctly. And if you decided to add more with the personal loan, that'll be super helpful if you are qualified or somebody else can help you with that part. So that is all from me. I hope you got a lot of value from this video. I'll try to leave this down below. And if it's not there, it's okay. Go through the questionnaire form so you can get access to it as well. And I showed you some of the cards to go after, but not doing it on your own, making sure you get the most exposure from different banks, from one bank, if so, a couple of cards at once, if possible. But even at then, having to get more exposure to different banks will really help you out for the project and projects that you need and how to apply these funds. So there are different things that I could have gone over and spent more time with you on the credit stacking side, but I'm going to leave it at that. Again, I hope you got value from this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. Please share it with others who you feel will find value from it. And if you have not subscribed, I'd greatly appreciate you subscribing. And please click the bell notification icon so you do not miss any future content I will be coming out with. That is all for now. Take care. Bye.